Hi, Leo, Sun and Rising. Welcome to your September 2025 Astro Update. It's Rena here. I did do this reading over again, maybe twice. I mean, somebody mentioned that the Mercury shadow period isn't, until next week. So the last week of August, and maybe I can blame that. But wow, I just kept saying there was just one specific transit, and I had put it down incorrectly because I'm reading off of this thing that I type up. And if I put something down incorrectly, then I'm just going to read off of it. And I just kept reading and reading and reading. So anyway, this is corrected, and I just decided to do it all over again. You know, some of you who make videos, you know that it isn't always easy to edit things out. So sometimes it's easier just to do it over again if it's not so long. And so we have Virgo season for the first few weeks. Virgo is your second house of earned income. So you may notice every September that you tend to focus on financial matters quite a bit. On the first of the month, Saturn retrogrades back into Pisces. That is your eighth house. So any kind of dealings with maybe parents or other relatives that you have been handling their finances in recent months since late May, that could come back into focus for whatever reason. Also, if you are married, your spouse, or in a domestic partnership, your spouse could be once again having some kind of pay cut or something that requires you to step up and make up the difference financially. This is something that you dealt with for a few years. So maybe you have somebody who gets laid off occasionally, and then they don't get their, although usually I would think they would give them paid leave or something, but that I'm sure that doesn't happen in some places. So there could be something along those lines that deals with other people's finances, or it could be like you are re-exploring some kind of discipline that you had, that like a shamanic healing training, something that maybe you were planning to do for a career eventually, that deals with the occult, metaphysics, personal transformation, personal alchemy. On the 2nd, Mercury goes into Virgo, into that second house. So that makes sense, given that Saturn retrograde into the other money house, that you would be thinking about your finances and how you're going to make something work. On the 6th, Uranus goes retrograde at 1 degree of Gemini, and this is the house, 11th house, which deals with groups that you belong to, friendships that you have. You may have cultivated some very quirky friends, but maybe they're flaking out on you. Maybe you joined a group that you were drawn to because it was so unusual, and you decide that they're a bunch of cranks. You're not really into that, or maybe you went to an ashram and have been living communally, or what they call an intentional community, and they called it in the 60s. They also, in the early 70s, they used words like communes, communal living, right? But sometimes what happens is you think, wow, this is really cool. I'm going to an eco village, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and you find out that there still is drama, there still is, maybe some of the people that I read a book on the communes from the early 70s, very interesting book that's out of print. And a journalist went to these different communes in that early 70s period. And it wasn't all that was cracked up to be. Some of these communes have survived to this day. They have a cottage industry. They produce almond butter. I mean, there's one specifically that I'm thinking of that has been around for decades. And maybe they got bought out eventually, I don't know, but they were making it at that commune. So sometimes it's like too much togetherness, who knows? But you will be, Uranus is going to go back into your career sector, 10th house, and then it's going, for the rest of 2025 at some point, and then it's going to go direct in early 2026 and go back into Gemini for probably about 7 years at least. So you're going to be dealing with this theme of unusual people in your life. Or this is the house of gains. If this is something with online payments and getting businesses and kind of reevaluating that during the retrograde, that could be a theme for you for years to come. On the 7th, we have a lunar eclipse at 15 degrees of Pisces, and this is falling in that 8th house. That could bring up a lot of stuff. They could bring up secrets. It could bring up your stored emotions that are very deep within you, maybe the hurt and the rage and the fears. This is Scorpio's domain, and it's just the shadow. And it can be a very cathartic experience if you are a conscious being. If you're not conscious, who knows what you would think about that. But be prepared. That's all you can do with eclipses is be prepared and don't cling to the familiar. Just, say to the universe, I am ready to accept what comes my way. That's not complacency. That's understanding the assignment at this time. On the 18th, Mercury, and this, by the way, this is a very transformative lunar eclipse for you. So sorry if I kind of just barely touched upon it, but yeah, it could be very cathartic and transformative, and liberating. On the 18th, Mercury goes into Libra, another friendly angle, sextile in the opposite direction. So this is in the 3rd house. This is the house that Mercury rules. So it is at home here, and you could be, coming into contacting your siblings, talking more to neighbors or your community for some reason. This is connected to sales, Mercury and the 3rd house. So that may be something, maybe you're advertising. And maybe, who knows, maybe with Saturn retroing into, back into that, Uranus retrograding back into the house that rules, the 11th house. You could be thinking about doing online ads or something. On the 21st, there is a solar eclipse at 29 degrees of Virgo. This is a black moon solar eclipse. Black moons, like blue moons, this is a second new moon in the month. And so that packs an extra manifestation punch. But this is, more powerful than a regular new moon. And it's on the cusp of the equinox. Wowza. This is in that money sector, 2nd house. So I look at that and it's 29 degrees. The critical degree, I look at that almost as a full moon. We're going, if you're listening before the 22nd of, I keep saying 22nd, the 23rd of August, there is a new moon at 0 degrees of Virgo. So to me, that is the ultimate initiator, planting of seeds in your money sector, and this is the harvest of that. It could be, very quick manifestation for money. On the 22nd, the next day, Mars goes into Scorpio, another angular house, this time the 4th house of home and family. This can bring up a conflict with the mother, or some would say the father, one of the parents. Because you have Saturn going back into the 8th house, maybe there is something. One thing I should have said too about the 8th house, it could be a will. And so there might be something going on where, and you might even be the executor of the will, but maybe you're fighting with a parent over the estate, or there's just some conflict therein. Or you might be renovating your home, adding an addition. Could be something like that. The same day or moving house, the same day the sun goes into Libra. So the sun is going into that 3rd house. So you're going to be very, it's joining Mercury there, very connected to education and communicating in various ways. At the end of the month, it's a mental house, so it deals with mental activities. Okay, Leo, that's what I have for you. I hope that you're stoked for September. If you would like a private reading, I have package deals, and I also do tarot readings. I do career, astrology readings featuring career, love, etc. You can find out more information at the link below. Thanks for listening. Bye.